Hello, welcome to the show. This week's show we're discussing the top 10 most underrated comedy movies of all time. So there you have it. If you're new to the show, which you probably are, since this is the first episode of the show, my name is Wayne, and this is Laura.
Hello.
And we're Irish, and we want to do a show where we're going to talk about and share the things that we really, really like.
And if you hear wriggling and snuffling and rustling in the background, don't worry, it's just one of our dogs or cats that's decided to take over the universe.
Yeah, it's our dog, Stalin. Or Frodo, as he's better known.
Yes. Frodo Doggins.
Yeah. So, and if you do hear a noise, apologies about that. But there's nothing we can do about it. We could have like a soundproof room and lock the dog outside of it, but surely you're not that cruel that you'd like to see a poor dog locked out of a room, begging and screaming.
Tiny dog separated from his loved ones.
Yeah, if you're that kind of person, we'd want to listen to it. Well, actually, we do want to listen to the show. We want you donating to the show, even though we have no means and methods of doing that. But as well, I just want to say, if you're listening to this on YouTube or wherever, if you go over to our channel, which will be the same as the podcast's name on YouTube, have a link in it, we'll have a video that'll be just summarising the top 10 in a quick way. Whereas this
is like a long and rambling.
This is a long rambling way. This is us just discussing the film, why we like it and why we think they are, and giving a bit more background on it. Whereas, like, if you just want short form content, just check it out on YouTube.
So it's going to be like Loudwire or Looper or something.
Yeah, I'm not going to try to do kind of what's a kind of clickbaity thing where it's like, you're going to have to stay tuned. But this is, like I was saying, in two parts, because we don't want to be like doing a 2 hour long podcast.
Yes.
About
that would
things.
Be very, very boring for you and for us.
Well, I suppose, look, getting started straight away, I suppose this is really subjective, because it does kind of come down to on how well acclimatized you are with movies, I suppose.
Well, acclimatized?
I don't know. I can't think of a better word. My brain isn't working. But
are we going in reverse order or starting at number one?
No, we start at number 10, go up to number 1, right? Yeah, we have to give a little bit of drama to it. Yes. It can't be just like,
this is the best one.
This is the best one, yeah. Like, it just gets worse from here on in. But yeah, I'm sure everyone has their own list. But like, I mean, I suppose what our thing would be, we're in our 40s, so it's probably a lot of stuff from the 80s. Well, actually, you could think of an awful lot of stuff from the 80s.
An awful lot was from the 90s, 2000s.
It is, yeah. Like, I would put stuff like Back to School in, but I wouldn't make like the top 10. And Police Academy 6, Mission to Moscow.
Specifically 6?
Or was it 7 was Mission to Moscow?
I think, which one was the Citizens on Patrol?
That was number 4. I do remember that one, because I think it was like the Fat Boys, remember they were a rap group? Were they in it?
I can't remember.
Yeah. Or maybe they did the Citizens on Patrol.
Yeah, I remember the horrendous...
But yeah, there's loads of comedies that you could pick, but these are ones that we think that aren't as well known, that people might have missed out on, or that are a bit underrated by people, or kind of might have slipped under the radar with it. So getting started with number 10, we have Death to Smoochie. Now you can hear the dog walking around the wooden floor, dragging a dead body behind him. The dead body of a purple elephant. Actually, funny enough.
Exactly. Speaking of Death to Smoochie.
Death to Smoochie, 2002, filmed by Danny DeVito.
Which is unusual enough in itself. Danny DeVito doesn't normally direct films.
Well...
He had that slow moment from the train or something.
Well, did he do that as well?
I'm really sure that was him. But you might double check that, seeing as you have access to the internet.
But it's got Robin Williams and Edward Norton are the main stars in it.
And Catherine Keener.
Of course. Which it's Catherine Keener just always seems to have like a smile on her face.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, even in 40-Year-Old Virgin and all the rest, and she just always seems to have this pleasant yet exasperated expression.
I think that's right. Yeah. But yeah, Jon Stewart is in it very briefly. I think he gets a listing on it because Jon Stewart would have been really big at the time. As he's after coming back now again, and he's big again.
Yeah, he would have been massive on Comedy Central at the time.
But yeah, the film follows. The Smoochie is Edward Norton's basically version of fucking Barney the dinosaur, who's all about like
positivity and like, you know, building up children and don't do drugs, kids.
Yeah, he's genuinely nice. Whereas Robin Williams played, was it Rainbow Randolph, who was a disgraced who got fired at the start of the thing. So it follows him trying to kind of like concocting plans to fuck up Smoochie. And
so he can reclaim his throne as like the rightful heir to sort of the children's network.
And it's about I suppose all the bad stuff that's going on behind the scenes and these like children television networks. Yeah. It's shot really, really, really well. I don't want to say too much of it because like this is going to be like relatively spoilers free when we're talking about things, but. It's when you look at it's how well it is shot, but how much of Frank Reynolds is in certain characters in it. When you're looking at it, you can see it's like.
Yes, I actually think there's a very fine line between Danny DeVito and Frank Reynolds. I think there's more and more of a blurring as the years go by. I think he's morphing into Frank Reynolds.
What it reminds me a lot of, you know, there's that episode of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia where it's they have like it's done like a noir crime thing about the like people getting diarrhea from drinking cherry or Kool-Aid or something like that. But it reminds me a lot of that, the way it is shot like a noir.
Yeah.
But it's very Hollywoody. I don't see films being shot like this anymore at all. Whereas this does seem to be trying to pay tribute to older films at the time.
Yeah.
Like it's shot gorgeously.
Yeah, there's like, you know, the whole kind of gangster trope and all of this kind of stuff and shady shenanigans. And of course then when it breaks back into like TV land, when it's the kid shows, it's shot impeccably there as well, insofar as like you would swear you're watching like Teletubbies or, you know, something like that. It's bright, it's colourful, it's cheery, it has choreographed dances, it has sing-along songs, and I suppose like every great sort of old style movie, they had they either had the credits, the interesting credits at the start where it was like a dance and a song number, or at the end, and of course they have it at the end where it turns into a kind of a children's song dance
it was
number.
nearly like the end of Anchorman. Really.
Yeah, I suppose, but shot very well, you know.
It's shot amazingly well, and as well Robin Williams is brilliant in it. Like you do look at stuff like this and you go, God, like Robin Williams, he was, because like Robin Williams was kind of universally liked. I suppose a great part due to being Mork and Mindy and stuff, and
then sure, he's a big part of everyone's childhood with that Mrs. Doubtfire and all of those kind of things. But I suppose with Death to Smoochie, he kind of started bucking the trend of his like really lovable characters like say Patch Adams, and he started going down the road of 1 hour photo and all the rest. This is a film kind of in the same vein, where he's a weirdo. He's just like he's horrible, but he's kind
sexually confused. There's a lot of it. He's like an Always Sunny in Philly character.
Yes,
out and out.
That's actually a very good description. Yeah,
like he is,
really know
and like I mean, there's bits like, and remember when the dance recital. Where they're making up, Frank is making up the fucking or with Mac they're making up the power balls that are like got drugs in them with the homeless people outside. There's a bit that exactly the same in that Robin Williams does, where you kind of, I'm not saying that that's like an original idea or something, but it's a bit, you know.
Yeah, it just seems there's echoes of it, I suppose, in It's Always Sunny. If you're a fan of It's Always Sunny, you probably kind of like Dead to Smoochie. It's a little bit rough around the edges, as in the characters. They're like everyone has a horrible streak to them, except of course the main character.
Yeah, I think Edward Norton is probably the weakest in it, really.
But that's the trouble. He has to be that straight character.
Well, I know he has to be that straight, but there's just innocent. It's not believe. I think they would have done better with a different actor. And because with him, he's just Edward Norton is kind of unlikable, and I think that's what makes in say Fight Club work so well is because there is that kind of little bit of a thing to him where he's just not very likable, even though he's the main character, and kind of like why you kind of side with Tyler Durden. And
I suppose American History X as well. Oh, he's super likable in that. Yes,
but that's Death to Smoochie. I think it's. I don't think it's as well known nowadays, and even at the time I don't think it was as well known.
Well, I think we actually only accidentally discovered it on VHS because we were going through a phase at that stage where this will tell you how old it is now. Video stores were they used to have sales of like stuff that either wasn't shown very well or rented very well, or stuff they had made their money from, and we found this in a bargain bin in like our local kind of video store, and we're like, oh.
Because I don't seem to remember ever reading anything about it.
Edward Norton, so we'll try it for £2 or whatever.
Just looking at it now on
yeah.
Rotten Tomatoes, it's got like 42% on it, and I think on IMDb it's got like 5.3 or something like that. So obviously it wasn't received too well. But like, I mean, it is good. I think it's one of these ones where it is a shame that it's like, oh Jesus, yeah, they'll only earn back 8 million out of 50 million.
Oh wow. Yeah.
So I can see why they probably didn't want to push it any further after that once it didn't do well. And Rob Williams received a Razzie.
Yeah, and I wouldn't mind, but I actually thought that he was fantastic as Rainbow Randolph.
Yeah, a nomination. Yeah, like, I mean, it's well worth checking out. I think definitely if you're a fan of It's Always Sunny.
It has that kind of
Robin
vibe.
Williams, yeah. It's.
But
it's
it
really,
just,
really
it
well
didn't, I think it fell between like too many sort of, it straddled too many fucking kind of genres, I suppose, really, or didn't really have an actual home where you go, I know the audience for this, or I know the person that's going to like
I think
this.
the time given to people are probably.
They may go back to it, but yeah.
That's if people kind of like. I think if it popped up on Netflix or something like that.
Yeah, I do think people would love it nowadays.
Yeah.
But I think it probably, as we said, it's like an underrated comedy.
Yeah.
I can have a look at it.
But just moving on to number 9, we have Kingpin, which is, I think, probably one of those films that seems to be forgotten about as well. That was like a Farrelly Brothers movie. That it was done kind of at the height of their career.
Yeah,
kinda,
they're sort of their popularity.
yeah, like when Dumb and Dumber and everything was coming out. But for some reason, it just didn't.
Well, in fairness,
stick.
it didn't really land with me either as well. It's okay, but it isn't one of their films I go, oh, I must watch that again. You know, I suppose, well, you take it away because you're more of a fan of it than I am, so you're just kind of
I have
going
to say
through
now,
it.
looking back on it, because I don't know how many times, this is the weird thing, sometimes you look at something so many, you know, you kind of go, I would have thought that it'd be placing it higher but after looking at it again, I still think it's underrated and a hidden gem, because I guarantee you not a lot of people will know about Kingpin. If you're listening to this and you're going, well, I know about it, good.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Good.
Yeah, you're listening
Hopefully
to the right
you
show.
rate it.
Yeah.
But I suppose, yeah, just to give a bit of a background of it, it centres around the whole kind of the bowling community, which is a very niche community anyway in general, and Woody Harrelson.
But there was a push kind of like in the 90s, I think, where people were doing these weird sports movies or kind of trying to find these weird niche movies,
Yeah.
like to have some, you know, as the topic too. So, but like Bill Murray is in this.
Yeah.
Before we get on, the plot, it's Woody Harrelson is in. This is the thing, the cast is amazing in it.
Yeah.
You got Randy Quaid, Woody Harrelson, Bill Murray, yeah. Well, Vanessa Angel, people won't know who Vanessa Angel is probably now, and I don't know if she was in Weird Science TV show.
Yeah, so she would have been well known back in the day as
Yeah.
well.
It's basically fucking Woody Harrelson's character plays Roy Munson, who's a failed bowler.
Basically he's like this absolute fucking star player when he was a kid, but he gets kind of taken in by a scheme.
We want to ruin it but he loses these.
That's what I'm going to say. And for a bowler, obviously without his hand, he's walking around with this horrifically fake rubber hand, which obviously
and
is,
the claw as well. He's just a piece of shit as well. So he picks up Randy Quaid, who he thinks is going to be a good bowler and make money at the championship for him, who's an Amish guy, and
shenanigans ensue. The usual.
It's usual. So it's like it's the normal Farrelly Brothers thing. It's very similar to Dumb and Dumber and a lot of things where it's like a cross country.
Yeah, all these guys getting on in wacky adventures and terrible scrapes and all the rest, and somehow managing to get out of it, and horrific injuries all along the way.
Yeah, like I think as well, Woody Harrelson, it probably would have been around the time when Woody Harrelson was after Cheers. He was trying to make a name for himself in film.
And trying to break away from that whole Woody persona as well.
Yeah, whereas I suppose with this, it would have fitted in more what he was doing in Cheers, because it was a comedy role where he went on and did like The People versus Larry Flint and Natural Born Killers and all these different bits. I only heard today, apparently, him and Matthew McConaughey might be half brothers.
What?
That was the whole kind of gag in fucking True Detective.
Oh.
That apparently Woody Harrelson's father was like, you know, there was this rumour that he was like the hitman for the mob, but as well he was after sleeping with loads of different women, and apparently Matthew McConaughey might have been.
You could kind of see it, alright, couldn't you? Yeah.
So apparently they might be half brothers.
Oh.
Whether it's true or not, I don't know.
It's just one of those interesting rumours, like 7 sort of, what's it of Kevin Bacon? 7?
Oh, 7.
Levels? What's the official name?
seven levels. I don't know. Seven, I don't know. But yeah, the fucking Kingpin, back to Kingpin.
Yes.
So yeah, the whole thing with it is, it's just following them across the thing as they're trying to get to the championship show. And it's the usual Farley Brothers thing of like relationships. People hate each other first and then they get all war,
Yeah, and then they kind of betray each other and then they come back together and it's all the shenanigans that they're getting.
But there are some really, really funny bits and pieces. There's some kind of like, say, the usual cast in it. It's the woman who was in what was it called? Insidious. Lynn Shay. She was in, I think she was in Dumb and Dumber as well, and she was like the friend in There's Something About Mary. But she's the landlady
Magda,
in this that's like,
or Martha?
that where she's trying to like blackmail Woody Harrelson into
sex
Connie
basically
Lingus.
for rent.
And it's like, it's the usual gross out humour that you get with it. But this wasn't received well when it came out, and it's really weird because I think maybe There's Something About Mary came just after this, and that's the thing with the Farley brothers. They seem to have that kind of thing where they were hitting kind of highs,
you had a kind of a 2 punch, 1, 2, and you had one was shit, and then the second one was a real hit.
But at the same point, none of their movies are like that dramatically different. It's all the same team. Like the same band is in this. That's in There's Something About Mary. But maybe that's the problem with it. Why they kind of ended up failing, because it was too much of the same humor over and over and over again. But like, I mean, while I do think this is probably on the weaker side of some of the comedy,
it's still worthwhile watching it for Woody Harrelson and Bill Murray. Like, I mean, the two of them, they're always great in any comedy.
Randy Quaid is very good in it. He as the kind of like the fish in the water,
Amish guy who doesn't really know much about the modern world. Very trusting with all these shady characters knocking around.
It's nearly like a poor man's version of Dumb and Dumber. Like, Bill Murray plays a creep in it, and that's kind of like what he seems to play.
He's known for
a lot of times, and as well, if the rumours aren't to be believed, that's the way he is in real life as well. With it, but there's something like the advert that he does where he's like trying to set up a charity for single mothers, and he's there like with like just being a creep and groping all these women in the ads, and it's like single models that are single mothers or something stupid like that. But yeah, it's well worth watching. I do think it's hard to talk about it without giving away spoilers, because all the thing, gang, you know what's going to happen in it.
That's it.
But it does subvert that a little bit.
Yeah, they're going to bumble along getting into scrapes.
Yeah. And then number 8, we have Art School Confidential. If you've heard of Art School Confidential before, I'm very impressed on multiple levels. It's a Terry Zwigoff movie, and people who aren't familiar with Terry Zwigoff, he did Bad Santa, and he would have done Ghost World as well. Art School Confidential, similar to Ghost World, based on Daniel Clow's graphic novel, but they weren't really graphic novel. It wasn't a graphic. I don't think this was a graphic novel. It was in Super 8. Was it Super 8 or not? Fucking 8 Ball. Sorry. 8 Ball, which was like a collection of his comics. It was like that he released independently at first before he got bit. I'm fairly sure Ghost World was in there as well as one-off bits and pieces. But it stars Max Minghella, who I don't really know from anything else. John Malkovich, Jim Broadbent, Sophia Miles.
Oh, we have Adam Scott, you have Angelica Houston as well as one of the teachers.
Adam Scott is in it very briefly as this asshole artist who was given like a lecture at the art college.
He's an alumni basically. Yeah. It's kind of like, well, I'm good at art and you're all fucking useless.
And so that's one of the best things is like, why are you such an asshole? And he's like, that's a great question. And he's like, I'm an asshole because I can be.
Yeah, exactly. And of course, I suppose Nick Swardson as well. That's probably one of his earlier.
Yeah, Nick Swardson is very good as the roommate, but it follows Max Minghella's Jerome. Yeah,
he's an earnest artist, kind of want to be trying to discover himself at art school, and there's also it's
a murder mystery.
Yeah, there's a cross plot going on. There's a strangler on campus, and people are sort of trying to track down the strangler. And
but I think it's people who went to art school or who are like struggling artists or kind of like
moving in that whole general arty-farty sphere. Yeah.
So like, I mean, we're in Ireland. Obviously, I went to art school fucking decades ago now. but it's the people, they're the fucking same. It's crazy.
It doesn't matter what decade or what country.
Crazy.
There's always the same archetypes there, I think.
It blew me away the first time. So even John Malkovich's character as lecturer, I had a lecturer that was exactly the fucking same. I remember going to one of his shows, and he was into painting doors. And there's fucking no one at it. And I think I was one of the only ones from the college to show up to it.
To show up, yeah.
So he was like, got on well with him after that.
Yeah.
But he was... it's like whatever he was into, I'm not like putting him down, but he was just fucking...
Oh yeah, a study of doors, obsessed with doors, which I suppose John Malkovich's character in this is just, he just paints triangles in different forms.
And there was a bit where he talks about kind of like, oh, it took me like 30 years to get to this point of painting. You will fail constantly. Like I got the same, now I mean fucking nearly word for word, the same thing from your man saying, oh, an artist, it takes you 30 years to do one painting. You know, when people say, how long did it take and all. But all the people that are in the class, from the middle-aged mother who's returning back to college, that she was in, you know, it was all these people.
The overly angsty fucking lesbian feminist kind of a thing, you know, who was trying to express herself. And there's all those characters, and the sort of the dumb jock that's just like, oh, I just thought I'd try art, like, and everyone.
Even when there was a guy came in he did mechanical drawing all the way through secondary school, and then he came into art college, and they told him to get out after a week. It was, like, our place was brutal. Now, like, I mean, and this is the thing, I think a lot of art schools are like it. The lectures were fucking the crits were horrific, and it was this whole thing. One of them said to people, well, it's really hard to kind of like survive in the art world, so unless you have a really thick skin, we're trying to get, you know, used to it. But like some of it was just like fucking really unnecessary. But this, for me anyway, I that's probably a bit of bias on my side. What do you think of it?
No, I enjoyed it as well, because while I didn't go to art school, I did go to film school, which is kind of tangential to it, and I would have hung around with sort of that kind of those characters where you have sort of like the older washed up artist who's all bitter, but he still has like all the younger artists come around to hang out with him because they think he's cool and he's got drugs, kind of a thing, you know. So you've got this like 45-year-old fucking wreck shell of a man who's surrounded by these kids that think it's cool that his life is the way it is, and it's like, no, it's not.
Ethan Suplee's character as the film student in it was spot on though.
Oh, God,
for the time, it's like, I mean, we would have known numerous people like that at the time, because like Quentin Tarantino was after making it big,
and everyone then was trying to do their gangster films and be outrageous and
because
stuff,
the way that Tarantino's story was sold, it was never like his real story. Like there was like bits, other people saw, oh, he used to work in
he was a video clerk.
And it wasn't like he was a video clerk and then he went on and did fucking Reservoir Dogs. The guy was like, he got in with people in Hollywood. He was like doing acting classes. He was like working on different bits and pieces. He started doing scripts.
You don't suddenly pull Harvey Keitel out of your ass, like, you know?
Like he worked hard. You know, it wasn't like people at the time they were trying to make it out. It was like, oh, this movie clerk who became like. Tarantino has a book out at the moment, which I can't for the life of me think of the name of it, but either get the audiobook or read the book. He talks a lot about like the films that influence him, but his early life and stuff. The guy fucking, my God, you forget, because like you don't hear too much about him anymore. Like at one point in the 90s he was everywhere. Yeah,
you couldn't get away from him, and everyone fucking loved him. Everyone thought he was like this massive. No, he was like, I mean, he was groundbreaking, I suppose, for the time. It's when you look at
if you look at fucking say Iron Man 2 and then put on any of Quentin Tarantino's movies afterwards, all of a sudden you go, oh my God, like that's fucking it's masterful, you know. And it is like his love for cinema, but getting away from the whole thing with it's like there was a load of people that are trying to be like Tarantino.
Oh, absolutely.
Are trying to, so everyone trying to put this street talk into it, or
they're all like, you motherfuckers.
Exploitation kind of stuff from like the 70s. And a lot of gangsters
and a lot of guns and a lot of shootouts and stuff.
Whereas now, if you read Tarantino's book and you find out about his earlier life, all of a sudden all this makes sense, and it's like this is who the guy is. This is who he's been since he's been a kid. It's not like put on, but like all these. There's another movie called Overnight, which I think surmises that whole era and the type of person that would have been trying to get into film, following a guy called Troy Duffy, who did the Boondock Saints, and he ended up getting picked up, and he was being seen as going to be the next Quentin Tarantino. on things, and it like follows his rise and very very quick fall,
and very sharp fall.
Yeah, whereas he wanted to do, and like Boondock Saints, it's all right. It's not a great movie by any stretch of the imagination, but it's fucking not up to, you can't compare it to Tarantino in any shape or form. I'd imagine he would have been getting picked up kind of like, because Miramax at the time used to pick up a lot of these smaller movies and just kind of like say, oh look, we'll throw $1 million at it, it's fucking nothing, if it's a hit, it's a hit. But he's just an unconscionable asshole. And he just, and unsurprisingly, he gets dropped. Now, guaranteed it is with the Weinsteins, who are like massive pieces of shit.
Anyway,
obviously,
there you go.
but
well, a certain on Weinstein is, but it does winding it back to Art School Confidential. Like I can remember at the time, not even me in fucking film school, everyone seemed to want to do that. I can remember you used to work in a warehouse down on the quay in the local city. I can remember when daytime work finished, there'd be people in there with video cameras and they'd have like actors tied to chairs and like, tell me where the money is, man. It
wasn't like a fucking Amazon warehouse. It was basically a music festival.
It was a kind of a festival warehouse where it's just like everyone had old props.
So that's why like actors could come in and stuff.
It wasn't like a proper like box and storage goods in warehouse. It was just this old, all semi-abandoned warehouse.
It was abandoned. Yeah, sure, got knocked after we were in there because it was like falling apart and we didn't have to pay rent.
Yeah, it was free for you to actually be hosted there. But the amount between there and between my own sort of like film school in Dublin and the rest, everyone was like, it was always like run down old seedy places. It was like, people with guns and knives and gangsters, and it's like, you're all kids from the suburbs. What the fuck do you know about gangsters in Ireland?
Well, I think this was the power of Tarantino as well. And it was that kind of like where like the Tarantino story just offered hope to people, where it was like, hey, look, if he can get there, I can get there. Like, I wrote a script. Everyone wrote scripts, numerous scripts. Yeah. Thinking that something was going to come from it. But like, Ethan Suplee's character is that guy. Yeah. Where he's like trying to do a Tarantino ripoff, and someone says to him, look, you should get more arty, and he does like an arty, he tries to do an arty serial killer thing, and it's just everything that's it was in some films at the time where it's the way that it was shot
and the way people spoke, and it was just the way people carried themselves.
But on top of all that, Art School Confidential is funny. I think the mystery in it is quite good. It's quite clever.
It does kind of keep you guessing as well until the end as well. And again, I suppose it's a commentary on like what is art, what makes art popular or famous, or what intrigues people, because it kind of goes from, oh, we don't care what this guy is doing, to like, because they become known for a certain thing, something maybe a bit horrific, they're kind of like, oh my god, it's so dark, so sinister, oh wow, you can read so much into it. And it's like people putting their own spin, or they're putting their own sort of thoughts on, projecting their own thoughts on somebody else's art, I suppose, right?
See, I think nowadays we're like fucking, a lot of people's ambition is to be an influencer or whatever shit. Like, when you go back at that, it's like when people actually had ambition to become something else.
And this will sound very dismissive of influencers, but when you think about the people,
they're all scum.
But but I mean, like the talent that was required to slog away, say, at art school, learn and hone your craft and try and make your money there, rather than like, I've got my mobile phone in my hand, I'll do a stupid dance and mime along and stick it up on TikTok.
And the whole thing with the main character in it, Jerome, he's a very accomplished artist, but then he gets to art school and he's like shit on because he's accomplished, because it's like art is not about being a craft person or being a tradesman, whereas like it's like, this is what we were always, because there's people in there, they'd get their heart broken, they could render
like photorealism, basically.
Draw like say fucking Leonardo da Vinci, and lecturers would walk
someone
around
will come and do a few arty scribbles. They're like, oh, such power, such emotion.
I used like fucking, I used like a chancer, and it was like knocking shit out, and they used to turn around to like some of the old, it's like, why can't you be more like Wayne, why can't you and they'd be like, fucking what? I never used to paint a face because I was going through, I just thought it was too hard work, but I kind of put this whole thing into where it was like, oh well, I just want my subjects to be like, black, and this is how I see people, as kind of like being faceless and kind of like, worthless.
See, it's all the spin you put on it,
and stuff. And they were the same as any lecturers. They were all chancers, like. Art School Confidential. I think definitely, if you know who Daniel Clowes is.
Yeah. And as I said as well, even from the whole point of the comedy view, it's actually worth it for the twist as well and the way it goes in the end, because you don't quite expect how the ending comes out. No. But it makes total sense. It is. When it does. I
kind of forgot all about it. I forgot who people were in it as well. But I think it's definitely earned a place. As well, if you've seen Terry Zwigoff did Bad Santa. Like I quite like Terry Zwigoff's style of directing as well. It's like a less pretentious fucking what's his name that does, like, you know, the zucchinis in their submarine.
What?
You know, I can't remember his name.
What?
Well, you know, he did the Fantastic Mr. Fox, and he always does like whimsical, kind of like, you know.
Oh, right, okay, yeah. Zucchinis and submarines.
But yes, so on to numero 7.
Numero 7.
This is not. I don't think many people know this. Fanboys. It's from, what year was it? 2009. Directed by Kyle Newman. Dan Fogler is in it. Oh, I always thought Dan Fogler was going to be massive.
Yeah.
I think he's in TV shows and stuff at the moment, but I thought he would have been like the next Adam Sandler or something like that. He had a run where he's like the ping pong ball movie that he was in.
Yeah.
And he was,
that's it. And of course, Jay Baruchel, sort of, he's just faded away. He kind of returned to Canada. And
he did, he just didn't want to be any part of Hollywood, and he was just doing his own thing. And Kirsten Bell, I suppose, the other. Kristen, yeah. But like Seth Rogen is in it, and there's like a load of cameos in it. It's following a couple of friends, one of who is after getting diagnosed with terminal cancer, and it's set around the late 90s. Around the Phantom. They're big Star Wars fans, so they make a plan that they're going to go cross country, break into Lucasfilm, and watch
Skywalker Ranch and try and see Phantom Menace just before, you know, sort of
it comes out before he dies. So it's a road trip movie, but it's
just full of nerd references and fandom and all the rest.
I think especially nowadays, the way, like, there's a lot of stuff going on with Star Wars at the moment. Well, Star Wars fans at the moment, and so I suppose with Star Wars as well at the moment, where you have like people that say like about Star Wars fans being toxic and stuff, where there was always a little bit I don't think it was as bad as it is now, or people's notions of it was bad, but there was this thing about like, it was between Trekkies and Star Wars fans, where Star Wars fans were seen as like the cooler ones, and the Trekkies were like just
dorks and nerds, but I suppose they were like, but our show is more intelligent, you know. It's like it's more science based, and yours is just space cowboys.
And there was that when there was only the 3 Star Wars movies and some cartoons and bits and pieces,
but it was very much like you're either a Trekkie or you're a Star Wars fan, and never the twain shall meet kind of a thing.
I'd like both.
So did I, but
I still like both. Well, I don't really look much at the new stuff anymore, because not that it's garbage, I just don't think it's aimed at people our age, really, kind of. But not that that's a bad thing. Like, I don't care who watches what.
Films need to move with the times, and they need to aim towards a younger audience so that they can grow with it, like we did with our favourite films.
It's always for kids. Anyway, that's my thing. I would always say that Star Wars, but it's like The Simpsons. It's like for kids, but adults could enjoy it as well.
Well, Simpsons was not necessarily for kids. I think it was a family show rather than
well, that's what I mean. But fanboys. Yes. It's just a simple old road trip. It's very funny though. I think that there's some standout piece, and there is an awful lot of kind of like blink and you'll miss it cameos in it. But this is another one that we just discovered accidentally. With it, and when we're looking at it, with the fucking some of the people that are in it,
William Shatner.
Don't ruin it. But it's that you kind of.
You do have. That's what I'm saying though. There's cameos that just pop up, and you're just like, how do they get them?
Yeah. And they're really like. I mean, there's a lot of there's a lot of the Star Wars cast in it.
Yeah.
In small things, it reminds me very much. It could easily be Kevin Smith movie, an early Kevin Smith movie. It's got a lot of the same kind of.
It's got that kind of Dogma vibe, I suppose. Or Jay and Silent Bob go to fucking, what was their last film? You know,
the reboot.
Yeah. Where they're on the road trip to try and
or it's funny. Like Seth Rogen plays multiple characters in it, and he's quite funny in it. As well.
You know it's him, but he plays very different characters each time as well. Yeah.
It's yeah, it's just a nice movie, but it's a sad movie at
It
its
is, and
core.
it's a buddy movie. Yeah, it's like what would you do for your friends? Kind of thing.
Shooter McGavin is in it as well, from whatever his real name is. But it's just, it's just good. I really like it. Like, we haven't looked at it in quite a long time, and it was quite nice going back.
It's a good buddy movie with loads of like pop culture and nerd references.
And even though it can be sad in parts, it's quite hopeful. Yeah,
overall.
I think it kind of goes to show why I think people forget is a bit like the power of being a fan of something and loving it and sharing it with people, and like the excitement that comes with something new coming out with it.
The anticipation.
So like, I mean, even something like, say, with like The Acolyte that came out, which by all means, and kind of it wouldn't be for me, and it does seem to be like a tremendous piece of shit, but there's going to be like people out there that will have been like, oh my god, it's so excited for it coming out and so excited watching it and stuff. And it's like, look, why go off and shit all over people's let people be happy, because it's the same with the Phantom Menace. There was just people
enjoy what they enjoy.
People wanted it to fail fucking even before it came out, and like, I loved it. And we were at the age group where it was like, a lot of people were like, oh my god, that is just for kids. Where that's like the initial reaction to the Phantom Menace, and people don't remember, was oh my god, this is a children's film.
And it's like, yes, they always were.
Yeah. And Jar Jar Binks, oh my god, people just despise Jar. And we talk, different show, but we were only recently talking about like the whole thing with Jar Jar Binks. The plan was apparently he was a Sith Lord, and he was like the mastermind behind the whole thing. So they had to fucking change everything based on like the bad reaction.
They should have gone with it though, because he could have been even more hated then when he's Anyway.
But it's like, looking back, we must go back and watch them soon again. But they were like, I fucking love, especially the battle scenes in it, like with the droids and things, and even Darth Maul. Darth Maul was fucking terrifying.
Yeah, but I mean, that's even the design of everything. It appeals so much to kids. Like at that time, I would have been doing kids parties, and all kids wanted to do was get the Darth Maul.
Oh
face
Christ!
paint.
Yeah, when they came up and asked for either that or Spider-Man, you're like, no, sure you want to be the Hulk?
Yeah, so many lines, you know. But like, they're all designed, like, I mean, that stuff, fucking kids love that shit. You know, fucking R2D2, and they love fucking the cute robots, you know, they love Yoda. This is what they like.
It's just give in to your inner child. Yeah, just fucking enjoy it. Like, Jar Jar Binks isn't a horrible character. He's a bit annoying, but he's meant to be
designed to be annoying.
That's meant to be the thing with him. And like, I mean, that poor kid as well that played Anakin.
Oh yeah.
His life got destroyed for a long time.
Something?
From people, and it's just like, he's a child.
Yes, he's like literally, you know, not even a teenager yet, and you're like giving out about this child actor.
Like the right thing to do. Remember with what was her name? That fucking Tic Tac teeth.
Kirsten
Dunst, in fucking Interview with the Vampire.
Explain that just sounds like you're being very disparaging towards
There was a Twitter thing, it was one of those nasty tweets things that she had to read out about herself, and it was like someone saying, why do her fucked up Tito's look like they're throwing gang signs or something like that?
They look like Tic Tacs throwing gang signs. That stuck with you for a long time. You just randomly giggled thinking
but it's just mental, like. But like with her when she was a kid in that, like, guaranteed she was very, very, very good in it.
Interview with the Vampire.
Yeah, Interview with the Vampire. And she won an Oscar for it and stuff. But at the same point, you didn't have fucking Anne Rice, although there was, and I was like, fucking Brad Pitt and fucking, oh my god, fucking Tom Cruise, it shouldn't be Lestat. And it's like, man, he was a very good Lestat. He was a different Lestat from the books, but he was very good. And then the follow-up, the terrible thing is, this is where you shouldn't try and base things too much. You need to let fucking filmmakers kind of like be loose with stuff, because that the Queen of the Damned, all the characters in that seem to be cast based on what the people in the book looked like, not their acting abilities or anything, and they were terrible. Like, they were fucking terrible. Where it's like, maybe, you know, kind of like Tom Cruise might have been a better choice for this, that, and that instead of fucking
but that's part, I suppose, seeing we're talking about fanboys, that's part of the whole joy of being a fan of something, that you fucking, something riles you up so much that you have this idea in your head from the book, and then when it doesn't turn out to be like how you imagined, you're like, how dare they didn't do it exactly as I pictured it. And of course that sparks like endless debate among fans.
Like, it can be good, debate can be good, but you know, it's just when you're trying to go out your way to ruin it for other people, I think is where it
like you tend to do with anything I enjoy.
That's because what do you want to look like a shit?
See, there you go.
But yeah, Fanboys, definitely. Like, I mean, it is really, really, really good. And I'm surprised that, like, this is a terrible thing. I think certain comedies are kind of like after dipping down to the toilet over the last few years. Whereas when this came out in 2009, even when we saw it, it would have been like a very bottom tier movie.
Yeah, it was very low key and all.
Whereas now looking at it, I'm like, Jesus, this is really good.
Yeah, it was kind of like a gag a minute here kind of thing and well set up scenes. But yeah, Fanboys.
And now, moving on, what's probably going to be a theme going forward from here on up, it's, well, I'll just say, number 6, we have Waiting. But like, I think what makes a lot of these underrated movies good is like, people get lightning in a bottle and they get the right actors before they become famous or the right so this has Ryan Reynolds before he was after doing Van Wilder Party before this, alright, but you have Ryan Reynolds, Anna Faris, Justin Long is in it as well, and one of the main guys that's getting it's like his first day he's getting shown around, John Francis Daly, who ended up directing the Vacation movies. He wrote the new Spider-Man movies. He's been involved with a lot of these. He's big deal.
Yes.
And like in this, he's just
he's literally, he doesn't even get to speak until like the last scene almost. Yeah.
But like this, it basically follows a group of waiters and waitresses and
it's just and again, I think what I suppose a lot of these films do tend to have in common is like that period in your life where in your early 20s and you don't know what the fuck you're doing, you're stuck in some shitty dead end job. Because like, I mean, if you look at the theme of a lot of it, that's what it is like trying to you know, you're just getting by and it's like you're trying to make the decision that, you know, at that age you don't know what you want to do for the rest of your life, and like I said, you get stuck in these jobs where you actually probably have the best time of your life, where it's just fuck acting around with your friends.
It's about growing up. I think before, like what you had a lot of kind of things about teenagers trying to grow up, and I suppose around this period in the 2000s and stuff was more focused on young adults. And then when you get into the Will Ferrell thing, like with old school and
it seems to be Arrested Development the whole way around, because that was the thing, like people were fucking grown up by the time they were 18 way back when. And like as we in our generation, you weren't really a grown up until you hit like 25 or 30, and as it keeps progressing, like people are still like, you know, living at home, failure to launch, all that kind of thing until their 40s. You know, like, it's just if
when we were like say 10 or even 12 and we found out that one of our father's friends who was in his 40s was collecting Warhammer or something like that,
well, like, oh my god, what's wrong with him?
Well, I probably would be, that's quite cool, but you'd probably be like, he's a paedophile, you know, or something. But or that they were into Star Wars or something. Like, if my father,
like, that's not an adult thing to do.
Like my father was like, into cowboys and fucking John Wayne and
Bruce Lee and stuff. But that's the thing, I suppose, it's like it is this whole thing of like the eternal childhood. It's almost like fucking what should we call it? What's his name? Fucking Peter Pan, Christ almighty, I couldn't think of his name for a minute there. But it's this whole thing of like, you know, you're watching other people kind of develop around you and you're stuck in this sort of like rush and you're like, what the fuck do I do? And it's like, it will come, take your time, enjoy it, don't keep pushing your life away, kind of a thing.
But like, I mean, I think a lot of these movies as well, they owe a great deal to Kevin Smith. Because Kevin Smith really opened up the way, not that there wasn't like independent comedies before him, but a lot of independent comedies seem to be more, I think, trying to be art schooly kind of type things, or they were, you know.
It was always lofty aspirations rather than we're just going to show some shitty job, like being clerks in some shitty fucking like, you know, 7-Eleven or whatever. And this is like shitty waitering job in like shenanigans or whatever the hell it's called.
But like, say with clerks, like Kevin Smith talked about this a lot. He was loved by like the Cannes crowd with Clerks. And everyone thought he was like this fucking film genius, And then when he did Mallrats, they were like, oh no, maybe we're wrong about this guy. And then he was saying, like, with Chase and Amy, a little bit of it came back, but as he went on, people were like, oh my god, this guy just likes fart. Like,
fart
jokes and dick gags. And that's all that he ever was, like, but it's just people kind of they made him what they wanted to make him.
You're going back to Art School Confidential there, aren't you? It's like people kind of, they project their own sort of thoughts and sort of desires.
But that's very much what happened with Clerks, and as well it was that story, a guy who funded a movie himself, which like Kevin Smith's story is a great story.
It is, financed it all on credit cards and went off and did it himself. Like,
but it opened up the way for a lot of people where they were like, look, there is room for these kind of comedies where you can do it. And like, I mean, Waiting is definitely, like, it has to be influenced, but it's it's got a lot of, I think, good points from like 80s comedy. Louis, I can never
Louis Guzman.
He's brilliant as a chef in it.
Yeah.
Dane Cook is in it, isn't he? As well. I'm fairly sure Dane Cook is in it as well.
You have David Koechner as well.
Yeah, David Koechner is in it as well. But it's just very, and like, I mean, it could easily have been the Ryan Reynolds show, which a lot of the some of those movies that he was in, like the other one with Anna Faris, was Just Friends.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's the thing, I've always liked Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah.
Like,
that's, I mean, he's a douchebag, but he's a hilarious douchebag.
He's our generation's Chevy Chase.
Yes.
But not a genuine asshole, I think. I think from all
we hope.
Yeah. But even with like what you hear about with Deadpool, apparently with the first set, like, I mean, he really pursued that. But he took a massive cut on his wage to it, so they could have writers on board.
He just seems to be a nice guy on his social media as well. Like, he's always reaching out to people, and he's always doing like hospital visits, but not making a big fucking deal out of it like other people, you know?
And as well as it's, I don't know, he always came across as being, there's just something about him. He's very charismatic. He's great on screen.
But he is. He's basically he is Fletch. You know, he's that kind of a character. He's effortlessly cool and very hilarious.
And he's very self-deprecating.
Yeah.
He's got that kind of thing there where he's cool but an idiot.
Not arrogant. Yes.
But like, and this is like the cast of characters that are in this role. And like, I mean, it's Justin Long is the one who's trying to decide what to do with his life. But it's what I like about this as well, it doesn't come to any conclusions. It is just a day in their lives where things happen, and you kind of get the feeling like, all right, maybe shit like this happens every day. It's just very, very funny. It's a nice kind of sweet kind of movie as well.
It is. And like, I mean, anyone that's worked any of those sort of like fucking, I don't want to call them dead end jobs, but those retail, those hospitality, those kind of jobs while they're trying to get by, everyone recognises it as their own workplace. You know, they're fucking the shitty after parties where all you're doing is waiting for work to finish so you can go and get absolutely hammered and roll up to work the next day where you're like badly hungover and just do it all over again kind of a thing. But it's, you know, you recognise, you kind of go, oh yeah, I was friends with someone like that. Oh yeah, our parties were just like that.
We had parties like that, Laura, for fucking how many years?
I know, that was the thing, yeah. It's just like everyone finishes their shitty job and they pile back to someone's house and just get absolutely fucking
But
hammered.
every job is shitty by its nature.
Yes.
Any job, whether you have to work or you have some fucking
I suppose,
asshole.
like minimum wage jobs for young people, I suppose, is probably what I'm getting at, you know, sort of that kind of thing where it's a stepping stone until you get on to maybe.
I think it's dealing with people. The public are assholes, and it's hard, and people should be, you know, where it is that thing kind of like if you're working in retail or anything like that.
You should be able to tell a customer was being a dick. You're being a dick.
Fuck off, like, you know, instead of the customer's always right, and it's like, no, you're not. The customer's always an asshole.
Yeah, more often than not, they're fucking moaning. I won't say the word. I want to say something very offensive there, but I won't.
But waiting is genuine, really, really laugh out loud funny.
Yeah,
and it's one
there's
of these
so
movies.
many good lines, and it's not like an old boys club or anything like that.
No,
the women in it are equally as fucking acerbic and cutting.
Anna Faris seems to be wasted in it, though.
Hilarious. Though.
I think she's kind of in it because maybe she was doing someone a favour, because I think she would have been very famous at that stage. And I think that maybe kind of because her and Ryan Reynolds did a couple of movies together, so I wouldn't be surprised if maybe she did as a favour to him, or I don't know with it, but it's just like she seems really underutilised in it for what she can do. With it, but that other girl, I don't know her name, but they're the angry
one, where she's like fucking smoking a cigarette and one drag angry, and then she pays on the smile and she's like, so hi guys, welcome to Shenanigans.
And then there's this whole kind of subplot where it's this game that they play where it's about like showing your fucking cock to someone,
your balls, basically trying to get them to look or whatever. And of course you have the two kids out the back who think they're gangsters, like, you know,
or quite obviously like based on Jay and Silent Bob.
Yeah, exactly.
With it, but yeah, look, that's the first 5 in our thing. If you want, like I was saying, go over to our YouTube channel if you want, and you get the next. Otherwise, tune in for the next episode where we'll be going on a rundown between 5 and 1.
Yeah, like Top of the Pops, except not Top of the Pops and creepy.
Yeah, do.
And if you thought these ones are funny, wait till you see the top 5.
So join us soon.